Hi everybody, my name is Elisabella Gamba. I lead product marketing for our Twilio voice products, and I also follow our marketplace customers.
Hi everyone, I'm John Davis. I'm on the product marketing team as well, and I make demos to show our customers what they can do with Twilio.
And today we want to share with you our learnings by working with many different listing marketplaces customers. But before we start, let me ask you to raise your hands if you ever use an online service to look for a house to rent, book a hotel online, find a restaurant, look for home help, home improvement, home cleaning, lawyers, doctors. Okay, almost all of you, fantastic. So these kind of marketplaces, we call them listing services marketplaces, online directory, are nothing more than online platforms where you can find any kind of services or any kind of goods. You typically find a list, you find a lot of recommendations, ratings, and all the information you need to make an informed choice. This is why they are so popular. And according to Google, 70% of people looking for those type of professional services end up in calling the number which comes up when you search something and you get your search results. And why are people calling so much for these professional services? It's basically because to make the choice, they really need to have a human connection. They really need to talk to the other person on the other side to really see if he can fulfill his needs. Yet, only 20% of those calls get answered. And as a result, you can imagine that loss of revenues for those professionals and also by association with the marketplaces that were surfacing them. So what I want to talk about in this lot is how you as a marketplace owner, because I guess there are many of you trying to develop those apps or maybe starting your business, can you really track and measure if you are getting as many calls as Google is projecting? Maybe your professionals are getting more, or maybe they are getting less. Do you know that? And how can you increase the response rate of those calls? And last but not least, how can you optimize your supply and demand to get as many calls as possible close to the 100%? So to reply to the first question, let me tell you a story about when I moved to San Francisco 2 years ago. I bought an apartment. I was new to the city. I bought this apartment and I wanted to renovate my kitchen. I wanted to install new appliances, I needed to fix my sink, and I had nobody to ask for a recommendation. So guess what? I went to one of the most popular listing services, Yelp. I started looking for a plumber, and I ended up in choosing Alanzi. Because for me, he was the one that could really satisfy what I was looking for. He has the highest ranking, so I confidently tried and started calling Alanzi. Guess what? Nobody ever picked up my call. He didn't even ever call me back. And the problem here is that Yelp have no way in measuring how many people are calling Alanzi and how many people never get answers like me. And most importantly, Yelp have no way in showing Alanzi that he should be keep listing himself in Yelp because Yelp is bringing him so much business. And this is a very common problem that we found across a lot of our customers about listing marketplace customers. One of them was Avvo. Avvo is the biggest legal marketplace in US. Avvo lists thousands of different attorneys in this marketplace. And the problem was that lawyers at the end of the month didn't really know if paying that monthly subscription to Avvo was worthwhile because they didn't have a measure of how many people were calling them thanks to Avvo. So what Avvo did was a very simple step. They replaced that phone number that was at that time the normal lawyer office number with the Twilio programmable number. So now when I call Avvo, what happens is that Twilio gets the call because the number is owned by Twilio. The call gets redirected to Avvo. And Avvo maintains a mapping between the Twilio number and the lawyer office number. So Avvo returns the private number of the office, and then at the end, Twilio will put these two parties in communication. By doing this simple step, Avo is now able to measure how many people are calling, how many calls are not answered, and also measure the length of a call, which is typically a proxy for interest and sometimes bookings as well. So Avo, thanks to this simple step, Avo was able to track the business that they were bringing to the professionals, and at the same time increase retention thanks to that. So now that we have replied to the first question, how can we track how much business we are bringing? Let's see how we can improve conversion. Let's see how we can bring the 20% of calls answered to the 70%. And we also know that conversion is inversely proportional to the delay with which a professional gets back to an inquiry from a potential customer. But customers have many different ways on getting in contact with those professionals. One could be call. Let me tell you another story about calls. So we have another customer, Twilio, Zillow. They are the biggest marketplace for real estate. So they put in contact real estate agents with online properties and potential buyers. They estimated that if a real estate agent gets a call within the first 5 minutes, the likelihood to convert that lead is 100 times higher. Not 100%, 100 times. Is so much higher. At the same time, real estate agents are always very busy. They are maybe showing some apartments, and they're typically lagging behind in calling back. At the same time, we know that text notifications, 95% of the cases are read and acted upon within the first 4 minutes. So you do your math, and you guess what Twilio did. So by, again, implementing programmable phone numbers, they were able to see right away when a call was not answered, and they could trigger an alert notification, including, for example, who tried to call, the type of listing, the amount of, the business deal that the agent could do if they would call back. So this created a sense of urgency for the real estate agent to call back as soon as possible. And again, this increased conversion. And at the same time, Twilio was able to track that. But now that Twilio have in place one-way text notification, what about expanding that capability and having a two-way messaging capability? We know that people have different preferences. We know that sometimes we need to communicate in a synchronous way. Maybe we cannot just return the call right away. And we also know that typically people send text messages 6 times per hour. So text messages is an incredible tool to lower attrition. And again, Twilio was able to convert more and track more. The next way for customers to contact real estate agents is also web form. You see this kind of web form everywhere in those marketplaces. You fill in your request, you put your name, your number, and then they promise to call you back. And we know that this is a bit of less urgent type of channel, right? So our expectations are typically lower. In fact, people are expecting professionals to call you back within 4 hours. So it's a bit more relaxed requirement. But again, can you imagine a real estate agent logged into his computer, replying to the email if he even doesn't have the time to pick up a call? So again, by having programmable phone numbers, what you can do is to trigger a call or an SMS, which is a more urgent type of communication, to encourage the professional to go back. So in this case, in this example, I'm setting up a call between the buyer and the seller. So I've showed you how you can create a sense of urgency by adding SMS and voice. But at the same time, we are human, right? You don't like to get a call from a stranger, from an anonymous number. You don't know why this person is calling you, and you're really reluctant to take that call. At the same time, while we started tracking this communication, we have a lot of information about our customers. So why not surfacing that kind of information to the professionals to give them more confidence to pick up the phone, because at that point, they know that there is something going on, there is an opportunity that they shouldn't leave. So now John will show you how to achieve that.
All right. So we would like to show you what we believe to be the future of marketplaces. On the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see this fictional marketplace that we've created. We're calling it Our List. It's much like a traditional marketplace, like the example that Elisa showed you of Trulia, our porch. On the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see this mobile application that accompanies Our List. So as Elisa mentioned, she is a recent homeowner, and she's having problems with a broken sink. She's done absolutely everything she can to fix it, but now she needs to get a pro to help her. So just like Yelp, she goes to Our List, types sink repair in the San Francisco area, and she's presented with a ton of options. At the top of the list, she sees Pat the plumber. So Pat has 46 stars, and I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see someone with a high ranking, I certainly click on the person with the highest rating. So Elisa clicks on Pat the plumber, and she's presented with two options to reach out to Pat. She can dial this 415 number that is under Pat's name, or she can fill out this web form on the right-hand side of the screen. So we're going to talk about these forms for a few minutes. So this 415 number that's on the left-hand side is actually a Twilio programmable phone number. So this number is actually assigned to Pat the plumber himself. And so whenever somebody calls that number, it will go to Pat's personal phone line, but it'll help him track how many leads are actually coming from this marketplace. So if you think about it, Pat's on Our List, but he's probably on Yelp, he's on Craigslist, he's on all these different marketplaces. If he puts his personal phone number on there, how can he actually determine where his leads are coming from? So if you use a Twilio programmable phone number, you can assign that and track those leads. So on the right-hand side of the screen is this web form. This is unlike a traditional web form. When you fill this out and you click Contact Pro, it's not going to send you to this blank form that says, we'll get back to you in a few moments, and a secretary picks it up and shoots you an email and gets back to you in 4 hours. This is actually going to create a call from Elisa's phone to the plumber's phone. And so let's go ahead and show this in action. So I've already filled this out. This is Lisa's phone number, her name, and a reason why she's calling. So I'm going to hit the Contact Pro button. And if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see Pat's phone, his mobile application, and Elisa's phone call. So let's think about Pat for a second. He's probably under a sink right now. He's working on something. He's fixing something, and his phone is slightly out of reach. He's got 46 stars. He's probably busy. But as Elisa mentioned, when you bring context into the situation, you can see that Elisa's calling. You can see her phone number, why she's calling, and it looks like she's a repeat customer. So think about when an unknown number calls you. What do? You let it go to voicemail. Is Elisa going to wait around while Pat finishes his current job, sees this unknown number, and listen to the voicemail later? No, she's going to go to the next plumber while her sink is just leaking all over the floor. So we'll set the phone call, and this is going to start a conversation between Elisa's phone and Pat the plumber within the mobile application that this fictional marketplace, Our List, is providing. So as they're talking, Pat can say, hey, I have an open appointment at 3 o'clock. How does that sound? She says, that's great. But it's also pulling in more information. Elisa's a repeat customer, so we already have her mailing address, her phone number, anything else. So they talk about this for a moment, and Pat says, hey, I'm going to send you a text message reminding you of everything we talked about today. Lisa says, that'd be great. So we end the call, and Pat sends the phone or the text message. But that's not it. So when you embed communications within your application, you can do so much more. Take a look at this call log. This is also within the app. This is a consolidated view of his messages, Pat's messages, in his phone calls. Think about your phone. Whenever you have a phone call come through, where does it go? It goes to your phone application. When you have a message come through, where does it go? It goes to your messaging application. We've consolidated everything into one location, and it's almost a tactical to-do list for today of everything that Al or Pat needs to accomplish. But you can do more. So on the far left or the right for you, you're going to see what you can do when you want to see communications for the entire, and how it helps your marketplace for the entire month. How many times somebody has found Pat the plumber on this marketplace, how many leads he's actually gotten from this marketplace, and how many times he's made conversions from being on this marketplace. All things that lead to value to keep your customers on the marketplace. So this is our fictional marketplace that we're calling Owl List, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, so while John was showing you the demo, we actually added another 4th step of conversion, and we also improved the way we could track leads. So the first step was to enrich the caller ID. As John showed, you can see all the contextual information on it, and we know that professionals seeing a context of who's calling them are typically getting that phone call with 3 times higher probability. The second one was also, when John sent those notification reminder message, seemed like a very simple step, but actually is a very important step, because this is the moment when the booking is taken. Before, you could estimate how many bookings you were taking by looking at how long was a call. But in this case, you can really estimate it with more precision. The next one was enriching the call log. Now it's not just a call log, but is a to-do list. It's like your Google inbox, and you swipe out whenever you have followed up with a lead. And the last one that we didn't show in this demo, but is perfectly possible with contextual communication, would be adding video. So this, again, would decrease the friction to close the transaction, because for example, you wouldn't have to take an appointment to go and get a quote from your professional. You can do that online. So while we were basically adding communication channels, we were improving conversion. And since we were tracking that communication, we were also able to demonstrate that. And every improvement step brings a clear dollar value to those professionals. And you as a marketplace owner should be able to monetize on that too, because you were able to track it. So one idea is to group different communication features within different subscription packages. You can start with a free package where you track all the communication, you show how much business you are bringing to your professional, and you show how much more business they could make by upgrading to the next packages. And then you see you can go on and on. You reduce friction, you increase conversion rate. So this is a fictional subscription package proposal, but actually a lot of marketplaces are doing that. This is an example from CarGurus. CarGurus is a marketplace connecting car buyers and auto dealers. They offer a basic package, I think it's for free, and you can contact the car dealer, and that web form is very similar to the one I showed you for Twilio. It triggers a call. If the dealer is lucky enough to be free at that point in time, they can get the call, they can convert their leads. But if they cannot answer, they don't see the contact details, so they cannot go back and call back the contacts. But if you upgrade, then you have more contact details, more communication channels, and it's easier to convert your leads. So we have seen how to improve conversion, how to track it, how to monetize it better. So now the last step is how we can optimize our marketplace even more. How can you attract more demand, maximize your supply, and monetize it even better? So while buyers and sellers were communicating, we were getting a lot of information. And we know from Google, people like to call for this kind of services. So we could extract even more information from that. In yesterday's keynote speech, Jeff launched Twilio add-ons. So add-ons are a perfect example on how you can leverage more from your data of your customers. You could, for example, activate keyword recognition, sentiment analysis, transcription as well. And you can extract a lot of different information. Let me show you 3 ways you can leverage those information. First, how to maximize demand. As I said, keyword analysis, sentiment analysis, you can combine that with all your reviews. And this will give you important information on how you can optimize your website, on which keyword you should bet when you do some ads investments, and also seasonality of jobs. And this could help you in rearranging your website, surfacing the relevant information. The next one is maximizing supply. By measuring the volume of calls and also the type of requests, you could estimate if you have liquidity in your marketplace. How is your supply compared to your demand? Here I'm giving an example of Palo Alto versus San Francisco. I'm still looking for a plumber. And the blue dots is the supply and the red is the demand. I have a lot of plumbers in Palo Alto, not so many jobs, but very much a scarcity of supply in San Francisco. I bet that those plumbers would be really much willing to drive up to San Francisco and do some more appointments there. So, and we also know that people like to take appointment with professionals that are in the same location. And they look at the location by looking at the prefix of the phone number. So what you can do, you can repurpose excess supply in a nearby location by changing the phone number. So for all these plumbers in Palo Alto, you could surface the San Francisco number and people could start calling them. You could do something similar also for time of the day. If supply and demand are not balanced, you can train professionals to be more available at certain point in time, or you could set up like an helpline, an online concierge to make sure you really leverage on your demand. And last but not least, you will also be able to estimate what's the value of each lead. If you are a home professional or lawyer marketplace or whatever, so different jobs carries different project value, different project costs. So the value of the leads that you pass is not always the same. At the same time, the probability that a lead will convert is not always the same. So why not fine-tuning your subscription packages per job families? You could have one for a plumber, one for interior designer, one for gardener, and so on. So you will be competitive against other job families, and you will leverage more your information. So by concluding, the more information you gather about your users, the better you will be able to address their demands, and the better you will convert them. And this will be a virtuous circle. The more you attract, the more you learn, the more you can attract even more. So as a takeaway from this lot, I would like to summarize saying that tracking offline conversion is possible. Whenever your customers are leaving your website because they're starting calling your professionals or your sellers, you are still able to track what they're doing, and you should do that. By adding communication, you will be able to increase conversion, learn more about your customers, and create more value for your sellers. And since now you're tracking their communications, you will also be able to prove that and, in turn, to monetize it. Thank you.